In the old Korean court, they say a king and queen prayed for a son with the desperation of people who believe heaven listens only to repetition. 7 queens came and went. 7 times the answer was no. On the 8th birth, the midwife brought news that should have ended the waiting. It was a girl. They called her Bari. Some versions say the queen died of grief. Some say she lived and watched what happened next. What happened next is always the same. The king ordered the child cast out in a chest and set adrift on the river, because a daughter could not inherit what a son would have inherited, and because shame in a royal house prefers to float away rather than be named at table. This is not a story about whether that was cruel. It is a story about what the river did with the child they threw away, and about what she did when the same parents needed her after they had already decided she was nothing. An old couple without children found the chest where the reeds grew thick and the current slowed. Inside was an infant wrapped against the cold, alive against every instruction the palace had given the water. They took her in. They fed her. They did not ask the river for permission. Bari grew among them plain and stubborn and quicker to listen than to speak. When other children mocked her for having no fine name, she learned the names of plants instead. When grief came to the village, she sat beside it until it tired of being alone. People began to say she had the temperament of one who hears what the visible world will not say aloud. In time, she became what the tradition calls a mudang, a shaman, not because the gods chose her in thunder, but because she learned the old rites the way some people learn languages, by staying in the room until the room began to answer. She wore the red and white ritual robes. She carried the drum that wakes the border between living and dead. She did not forget the palace. She simply did not live there. Word came upriver the way bad news always comes, slow at first and then all at once. The king was dying. The queen lay ill beside him. The physicians had exhausted every route and every argument. There remained only one cure spoken in the old books: water from the underworld spring. The water of life, which no messenger had ever brought back because the road to it passes through the hells that lie beneath the world we walk on. The king's sons, 7 princes raised in the house that had wanted sons, were asked to go. One by one they refused. One spoke of duty. One spoke of the cold. One laughed as if the request were a joke told by a man already half in the grave. The court waited for an heir to save the throne, and no heir moved. Then a woman in mudang robes entered the hall. The servants did not know her face. The king, half blind with fever, did not know her name. She said only this: "Send me. I will bring the water." And because dying men will accept help from any hand that looks like it knows the way, they let her go. Before she left, she did not ask forgiveness. She asked for a bronze bowl and a clean cloth and time enough to say the road prayers without an audience performing grief it had not earned. The underworld in this tale is not a single door, but a sequence of gates, each with its own weather. Some tellings count 12 hells. Some count fewer and make each one larger. The number matters less than the rule. You cannot buy your way through with gold from the living world. You cannot lie to the keepers and keep your name intact. You must answer what each place asks, and you must keep walking when the walking becomes the whole story. Bari went down the mountain path at dusk with her drum tied across her back and the bowl wrapped in white cloth. The first mist rose to meet her not as punishment but as threshold. Behind her, the palace lights looked small as sparks. Ahead, there was only the road the dead use when the living are too proud to walk it themselves. The first gate opened on a landscape of stone and cold river, where the dead wait in lines that never advance and never end. Bari did not stare at faces. She beat her drum once, and the line parted enough for a woman with work to do. Each hell after that had its own character in the old tellings. A place of wind. A place where stones remember every word spoken in anger. A place where the greedy carry weights they chose in life and cannot set down in death. The versions disagree on the order and the name of each court. They agree that the living who enter must not stop to judge the dead, because judgment is the one luxury the road does not sell. Bari passed through them the way shamans pass through difficult rooms, with attention and without contempt. She answered when she was asked. She gave what small help the rules allowed. She did not claim to be innocent. She claimed only to be still walking. Night after night in the world above, her parents grew thinner. Below, she kept the bowl unspilled and her name unbroken. At the deepest turn of the road, she found what the books had promised, a spring that shone with a light not borrowed from sun or torch. The water was clear and very still, as if even the underworld needed one place where nothing performed suffering for an audience. She filled the bronze bowl. She covered it. She turned back toward the gates she had already opened and the keepers who had already measured her. The return is never the same journey as the going. The hells you pass through on the way out remember your face. Some versions say the dead tried to drink from the bowl. Some say the wind tried to spill it. Bari held the cloth tighter and walked faster. A shaman does not become a hero by defeating the underworld. She becomes a hero by coming back with what the living asked for and had not earned. She entered the sick room before dawn with mud on her shoes and the bowl steady in her hands. The king could barely lift his head. The queen, if she still lived in that version of the tale, watched from the pillows with eyes that recognized something older than memory. Bari gave them the water. They drank. Color returned to the king the way color returns to cloth when it is washed in a stream that has not lied about what it can clean. He lived. The court, which had refused to send its sons, sent its astonishment instead. Only then did Bari speak her name. Only then did the palace understand that the daughter cast out on the river had walked through hell for parents who had once thrown her away. Some tellings end with honor restored and a kingdom saved. Some end with silence, because not every cruelty can be answered with a single cup of water. This telling ends with what the tale has always been about. They wanted a son. They needed a daughter. And when the world below tested who would come back, the one who came back was her. This was Forgotten Fables. This was Princess Bari, the Korean shaman epic the West rarely tells. Follow the channel when you want the next story the loud world forgot.